Dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, they told me I have 5 minutes, so I will try to speak in 7 minutes, roughly. It is for me the first time that I'm attending and also addressing ALDE Party Congress. I'm looking to hold bilateral discussion with many of you, so let me be brief at this very moment and limit myself only on number of 3 critical points, namely Eurozone, migration and taxes. The EU and therefore also ALDE Party are facing a number of crucial challenges, only emphasized by the brutal terrorist attacks a week ago in Paris. If I speak of challenges, I really mean the need to deliver on issue about which our citizens, current and also potential ALDE voters, are concerned. We should not forget to whom we are responsible. And let's face it, they are not impressed by the EU performance. Yes, there have been gains in EU can be proud of, and some of it is not fully recognized by citizens, which means we are failing in communication, probably. More important, though, in many respects, citizens are right in their concerns. How do EU done a good job in addressing the Greek or migration crisis? On Greek, we finally managed to come to terms, partly also thanks to brilliant speech of Guy at the European Parliament plenary, but it took too much time, and still economic governance and Eurozone and EU is weak. Some of our political approaches need to adjust to real-world prospects. This applies to the concept of full unification within the EU. Let us remember the burning issue of the euro. For inviting a member state not to fit to join the Eurozone and adopt the euro, EU leaders carry their shares of the burden for the Greek failure. The test of time showed us how inopportune it was to prefer political objectives over the fulfillment of objective criteria measured by economic performance and by the progress of real convergence. On migration, we have entered into the endless internal fights focused on unimportant measures, while migration remains out of control. The Commission should have already presented its proposal on protection of external borders and asylum and immigration policy weeks ago. We need a better communication inside the EU. We cannot learn of intentions of Chancellor Merkel from press, and there's the other way around. Today we have 2 different kinds of external Schengen borders. Poland, Slovakia and Hungary have secured borders. Slovenia is working on it. On the contrary, in Greece, the border is simply non-existent. The mainland border must be secured and the sea coast must be patrolled using common resources and forces. We need to give Turkey the resources to stop the people smuggling and leasing boats heading to Greece. I am stunned by the fact that the most of perpetrators of the attacks in Paris were living in Brussels and Paris. We need effective intelligence services to be in hot pursuit of terrorist cells in Europe, a priori and not a posteriori of tragedies. And now we are facing serious security threats. How long it will take us to realize that we don't only need better cooperation between member states, but also EU-integrated military capacities. I don't just imagine this, I am ready to make an effort and make sure that my country will contribute like we have been contributing in NATO and a number of coalition operations. Defeating ISIS will require common efforts, and without defeating it, Europe will be not safe. We have to act more speedily and without fancy words, which may be even difficult to understand on topics like energy union, digital economy, and the others. The internal market has been further developed and strengthened. Citizens need to be reassured. Businesses and people on block want less administrative burden. Or consider the VAT gap, on which I not only have strong views, but also initiative on which I could do with ALDE support. Being a finance minister, I am obviously worried about taxes. In 2013, member states lost almost 168 billion euro of VAT revenues. Experts call this VAT gap. In my country, a substantial part of VAT gap is caused by organized crime, namely by the carousel scheme fraud. It is there obvious that the wider application of the reverse charge mechanism offers a viable solution of the problem of tax fraud. Notwithstanding our arguments, I am constantly briefed from the European Commission that the reverse charge may not lead to less VAT fraud. Instead of using it, I am constantly advised to gear up the conventional measures only. The Czech Republic has introduced a number of those conventional measures, but the size of fraud remains basically unchanged. Following the October ECOFIN, there is some hope that the Commission will adapt its position. It seems that the VAT fraud is finally going to be discussed and recognized topics on ECOFIN agenda in January 2016. It means after 18 months of my speeches at ECOFIN, we will discuss this finally officially. Unbelievable performance. I am convinced that the biggest EU issue is not the VAT gap in general, but the huge time gap between the words and the actions. Clearly, there is a prevailing feeling in EU conforms its decision-making to the interests of larger countries. We would like to see is more attention paid to the opinion of smaller countries. Those among us finance ministers who point out problems and stimulate legitimate discussions cannot be considered as dissident or even troublemakers. In the current period when Europe looks helpless in intra-union cross-border tax fraud, Europe needs courage and leadership. Values matter, but better growth, new jobs, and saving taxpayers' money represent the added value citizens expect. And we need to show that the EU can deliver. Dear ALDE colleagues, I know that little to no of what I have just said is new to you. But I am saying so, I at least underline the urgency and the fact that our movement ANO not only shares this view, but is ready to make a continuous and focused joint effort. And with ANO experience in my country, where we remain the only alternative political force to the incapable or rather capable of everything political traditional parties, I am convinced that ALDE can also offer a real alternative in Europe. Let's go for it. Thank you.